I guess I can I can record this real quick. Now that I've played all of the Bethesda DLC ever for Fallout, except for 76. I'm not gonna play 76. So the first of the three games, this will include 3 New Vegas and 4. So for Broken Steel, I can pretty easily slap this into C tier because it's a net negative to the game, but it adds to the narrative of Fallout 3, but it adds gameplay that I like. First of all, it extends the level cap. Some people might say that's unnecessary in Fallout 3. You're overpowered at level 20 anyways. That's fine. But I do like the added of 10 perks. I just like perks, man. And if you have infinite perks, you have more room to take perks that are less necessary. In like New Vegas, right, where you're dealing with like I think 15 perks in a vanilla playthrough, you're gonna try and optimize them as hard as possible. But like in Fallout 3, with 30 perks at 30, you can actually just fuck around and choose whatever perks you want, and I like that a lot. I appreciate that. I like that it adds tougher enemies to the world, but that's only because I played Fallout 3 Tale of Two Wastelands, which changes how damage scaling works, and it makes you stronger. So basically, enemies just aren't as spongy in Tale of Two Wastelands, and so because of that, I appreciate that there are the sort of mini bosses and like the overlords and reavers and albino scorpions. But that would be a negative in vanilla Fallout 3, to be clear. I do like the new perks that it adds, but everything to do with the actual main story is a net negative. It undermines the original story because the entire point is about you either turn the purifier on or you walk away. Those are the endings, and I kind of like that. It's like Fallout New Vegas. I don't think, even though New Vegas was intended to have a definitive or a post game, I'm actually grateful New Vegas ends where it does. Right? Because that story is done. And Bethesda, as of season 2 of the Fallout show, clearly cannot handle New Vegas's world. So it's for the best that that has such a definitive ending. And I almost like that Fallout 3... I do like that Fallout 3 had a definitive ending. And then Broken Steel just says, nope. People said it was cringe and gay that you couldn't play after the purifier, so fuck it, right? Who cares about the story we were telling? And like, it's just so spineless. It's one observation I made playing the water quests that got added by Broken Steel. You can do those anytime after you turn the purifier on. Is that there's a sort of vindictiveness in the water quest with Megaton and Rivet City, where the Brotherhood of Steel worked very hard to get Project Purity running, and now that they gave it to the people of the Wasteland, you know, a larger group of people who want to interact with this thing that they created, they're all fucking idiots who just keep irradiating the water. And this is the DLC that's changing the original story they wrote. There's sort of a level of maybe Bethesda doesn't like their fans. And it's like, but you wouldn't have to have that hatred and resentment if you just weren't so spineless and you didn't just cave and change your story because people didn't like it. You know? And it's like, it's a very bizarre DLC. I just am putting it out of F tier because of level 30 and some okay perks. Considering that in vanilla your companions die and they're dead, puppies is a really good perk. It gives dog meat very unique functionality. But yeah, overall a net negative. I like the one the metro mission in the main story a little bit. But that's only because the enemies weren't as spongy as they should have been. The one where you go to get to the Enclave base. I like the train section. I liked riding the train. That was cool. Where is Anchorage? F tier. You don't need a set of invulnerable power armor. It's called utilizing the repair skill of the merchants. Investing in Canterbury Common gives you 100 repair merchants. You get a 100 repair merchant mothership Zeta. You just don't need it. And that's all you get for Anchor Drill. You get some unique items. I'm not even sure what you get in vanilla anymore. But it's, if you play in TTW, it's like okay, because the enemies aren't spongy. And if you go in at a high level with perks, you can kind of demolish it in like an hour. But like, being able to get rid of it quickly isn't a good thing. That just means it's so boring that you want to burn through it. I had an okay experience playing it, but that's mostly TTW and like a high level build going into it. It's not saying anything with its story. You know, you have this Brotherhood Outcast faction that you could have done something with. Maybe the other guy in the simulation is like one of the outcasts, and like by working together in the sim, you form this mutual respect, and then that can kind of influence whether or not the outcasts are hostile to you, like the tactical decisions you make in the sim, because like the Brotherhood are like a military organization. I mean, that's just like a shit that I just took, right, of an idea. Like, there's a lot of reasons that wouldn't work, but like, I don't know. It's just a Call of Duty simulator, but in Fallout 3's combat engine. Ugh. Mothership Zeta is slightly better, if only because there are moments that I can recall liking. Seeing the abominations is actually terrifying and horrifying, like horrible. It's awful. But then they have like all of the human characters, so there's no atmosphere. It's like this tonal dissonance. There's no deeper story, but it's like, if it's gonna be silly and wacky, it should be funny, and it's not. Like, yeah, like epic samurai guy who speaks in Nihao XD. But overall, it's just very boring. It's not... I don't know if it's the worst yet. The Pit was okay. It's B tier. There's a sentiment I've heard that the Pit is a New Vegas DLC in Fallout 3. And that's either kind of true if you're like me and you don't really like the New Vegas DLC that much. But I don't even think it's as good as the New Vegas DLC, even though I think New Vegas's DLC are overrated. The ingot collection is really fun if your ingots don't bug out, which happened to me. Even in TTW, that happened. And the fact that they can bug out means that you can literally be stuck at one ingot missing, and you have no idea which one it was or where it went. Because they can get moved around in the environment, which was an issue I ran into, but collecting the first 99 ingots was really fun. That was a really cool experience, because when you get all your gear taken away, you can kind of regain your power in the area by killing more and more enemies. And it creates a really fun sort of like Dead Money experience, like micro Dead Money experience. Before you get all your stuff back at a certain point. Once you're done with the ingots, though, the story falls apart. It's like 3 quests. You like fight some goons in like a dungeon, and then you go talk to a guy, and then you can either steal the baby or not. And it's like the moral dilemma isn't very compelling. Asher doesn't make a very good case for himself, and instead of it just be like, the game kind of labels it as a good karma choice to help the slaves, because like obviously. So, like, I get what they're going for, but they didn't expand on it in the right way, so it's just kind of underwhelmingly slaves, not the slavers. And you could say that's reductive, but the game didn't give me a good reason to side with Asher in spite of it. I think the only line of dialogue that made it somewhat questionable is that one person somewhere said Werner is kind of bad. And in my attempt to be like really gracious to the Fallout 3 DLC, I've sat through like almost all the dialogue in them. So like if someone else other than Asher, who is a slave owner talking about his slave, said that Werner is bad, I don't know who did. So it's not a very compelling argument, really. Werner kind of comes off a little bit like an asshole, but he's also like a slave who's like stressed out and planning a rebellion. I think most people would be an asshole in that situation, so it's alright. The ingot section is really fun, the rewards for it are really fun, but then you have like the other half of the DLC, which is like C tier. So the ingot part is like A tier. I actually like the ingot section as a slave with your gear taken more than the villa and dead money. Personally. Now me personally, that's how I feel. What's the last one? Point Lookout. This shit was ass, bruh. What did I enjoy about Point Lookout? I liked the gun you get at the end that just explodes people. It's kind of fun. I like Mirelurks. I like that Mirelurks exist, so getting to fight them a little bit more was kind of fun. Yeah, nothing really happens. Nothing ever matters. Nothing ever happens. It doesn't matter. There's like a choice, and like you can either help the person who gave you a perk, or you can help a robot for no reason because he was kind of mean to you. I don't know. They tried to have like a choice thing again, but it doesn't work. Either side is not compelling. So I just went with the side that gave me a perk earlier in the DLC. Yeah. I don't think it's as aggressively bad as like the story part of Broken Steel or like the gameplay of Anchorage. Courier Stash. Courier Stash helps and hurts the game in equal parts. So if you've played New Vegas to death, it just gives you a way to speed up the early game, and especially it helps speeding up getting to Vegas. Now, some people think this breaks it, but not really. You can just run north of Vegas, and if you go through a certain path, you never fight anything anyways, and the enemies that do attack you can't hit you. And you can just use the stim packs Mitchell gives you to heal from the damage you do take from the raiders. Sorry, the fiends. And you're golden anyway. So it's like, it doesn't change anything. You either just use it or sell it to speed up the early game process. When you're supposed to be broke and homeless and like motionless and like completely destitute, it just skips a bit of that. And it's like, if you enjoy it, then just go throw it in a trash can or don't enable it. Although for some reason a lot of mods require it, but I mean, hey, we're talking about the base game here. That's why even though all of these would be like C tier in Tale of Two Wastelands, I'm trying to rate them based on their vanilla output, which is why they all get bumped down because of the bullet sponge enemies. But I think Courier Stash for me is probably closer to a B tier. I value it more than the Pit. What's the first story one? Dead Money. Dead Money is A tier. I don't think it's perfect. I think that there's some issues with it. The fact that it's easier at lower levels is kind of cool from like a pure gameplay experience, but it doesn't make any sense. So like there's this weird duality of it where because of how the ghost people are scaled, if you go to Dead Money at level 1, the ghost people are easier to kill with the bear trap fist than if you go at level 20 when it recommends with like a high-end build using whatever weapons it gives you. Because the things level scale, like in Fallout 3, right? So if you go early, the combat is really easy, but then the skill checks are significantly harder. Whereas if you go later, the combat becomes brutal, but the environmental and skill check aspect of it is significantly easier because you have all of your like high-end skills and you have like more health for the cloud to take, and you might even have like the implant that regenerates health, which like I'm pretty sure just cancels out the cloud. So there's an interesting aspect there, but that's meta. You're not supposed to know that. And the fact that that's like a weird out of intended design decision for you to make is not a favor for it, really. Like, it wasn't designed that way, but I suppose it is that way. So we do have to consider it. The story of it is pretty good. I like the characters. The only weird thing is that the story, by all accounts, paints Dean as a villain, but it's treated as the moral high ground to spare him. I wouldn't have any issues with that, but the thing is, this is the game where I'm pretty sure you get karma, like good karma for killing Caesar. Like, you get good karma for killing bad people in this game, but like the narrative implies that it's the best ending for Dean to survive, which is kind of placed over that, and it's really bizarre. The companion system has its ups and downs. Like, it was intentionally designed in such a way that once you have all three companions and you do the second half of the villa, one of the companions is more useful to get to another person's position than the person you're actually supposed to bring. That's intentionally done, and I kind of like that, but it creates this tedium system where then you have to run back and grab the other person and walk back, and it's like, once you clear out the place, it's just walking, so it's annoying. Another thing about this DLC that doesn't make sense is that you should be able to just come back if you want. I don't understand that. It's sort of explained in the story that, like, the mutant dragged you there, so, like, maybe that's why, but then you're able to just go back. So it's like, if you can just go back, you should just be able to go back once you're done with it. That's stupid. But yeah, if you play this in the intended way, the enemies being absolutely miserable to fight holds it back from S tier. The villa section is ass if you go in at like level 20. It's fine if you're like max level or if you're like mid level, but like a mid tier character will absolutely, it just turns it miserable. Courier stash higher than the pit. They're in the same tier. Honest Hearts. It has Joshua Graham, right? So, like, Honest Hearts is definitely the weakest of the New Vegas DLC. The story is just kind of like, oh, people are invading, should we fight them or not? And it's like, fucking obviously fight them. And the thing is, Daniel's entire argument is that he wants to protect the Sorrow's innocence, but that's not that's not his decision. Like, they're sentient and conscious people. And even if you want to reduce them to just following one person's orders, the father in the caves wanted them to fight back if they were in danger. Daniel is quite literally disrespecting their religious beliefs by trying to force them to flee their home. So from that perspective, Daniel is not an option. But you could try and view it as sort of like, oh, well, what about morally, right? It's like, well, the fucking Whitelegs are raping, pillaging monsters. They butcher people and hunt and steal because they're too stupid to farm. And it's like, there's no argument. And even if you try to just go a little bit outwards, they're doing this to join the Legion. Which in New Vegas, the Legion is a bad faction. Like, it's not... I understand the argument for them, but I don't really buy it in the finished game we have. So it's like, in that vein, there's no way to justify sparing or running from the Whitelegs. Like, they're just bad. So it's like, Joshua Graham is just there. But even then, even then, like, Joshua Graham is supposed to be the more aggressive, kind of bad, like, oh, you're gonna turn him into like murdering monsters, but it's like there's like the perfect peaceful speech check. So it's like there's not even a consequence for choosing Joshua. Like, oh, like what if it was just hard coded that choosing Joshua made the Sorrows and Dead Horses assholes, but they remained good willed and natured the other way, there would be an argument, but there's a perfect choice for Joshua, so it's uncompelling. I would probably put this in A tier though, because I enjoy the map significantly more than Dead Money, and I enjoy the story of the Father in the Cave, and I like that you can come back whenever you want. And I joked about Joshua Graham not being the whole DLC, but he is like a fifth of it maybe, and he's pretty goated. Old World Blues. I think it's our first S tier. I don't mind the intro. That's the big turnoff for people, is the intro. I like that you can kind of choose when to end it in the dialogue tree rather than just mashing through it. There's like an option to immediately cut them off. And then there's so many cool skill checks in dialogue, which is really rare, even in New Vegas. Like you have like a guns check. You have different checks for like your different medicine and science. I think you even have like a survival check in there. You have barter checks, pure speech checks. It's really, I like that a lot. And then once you get out of the sync, which is definitely the worst part, the intro, the actual world of Old World Blues is like the best mini map DLC they introduce. Like all of the different research facilities have something useful for you to get. It's loaded with like stuff for you to make more ammo if you're doing energy weapons, which you probably need to enjoy it. There's like enough random enemies on the overworld that you're constantly fighting and gaining experience and leveling up. So it's like you get the experience of like a little mini Mojave because of the sink being your home base with like the dock and the barter thing. And the fact that you can just keep finding new things to upgrade your base over and over. It's this really awesome system. The only thing that I think holds it back from being the best might be... Actually, I don't know what the best will be. But it's just that it's not a DLC you can do early very easily. But I don't even know if you should hold that against it. It tells you what level to go in. I like the resolution a lot, and I like that the ending slideshow is dictated by how many things you actually bother to go do. So, like, Muggy gets a slideshow if you enable him, and then, like, upgrade him and all that. I'm trying to think about other things. The resolution with Mobius is really good, and I like the ending. Again, it's a little too perfect to just be able to have the perfect thing where you speech check them and they help you and they turn good, but I think it's more excusable in Old World Blues case because of the fact that the message of the DLC is hope. So, I don't know. The whole point is that you can't be stuck in the past. Like, I don't know. I think it works more to have the perfect choice here. Then Lonesome Road. Lonesome Road is just a vibe check. It's just like an end game. Like all the enemies are ridiculous. It's just a combat gauntlet where you just walk through a hall. And I think it kind of works a little bit if you play only the DLC. I think the thing that holds back Lonesome Road from being really good is that it doesn't feel good in a full New Vegas playthrough. Because the game doesn't end at Lonesome Road, it ends at Hoover Dam. And there's no organic way to integrate the DLC into a full game playthrough. Like, I get Dead Money. Sure, your courier hears a signal and goes to check it out for money. That's pretty standard. And I get Honest Hearts because you're hired on from the caravan. You could have... Or they didn't want it because of the fact that a lot of people will end up killing the Crimson Caravan, but that's the best way to integrate that one, is with the Crimson Caravan. And Old World Blues, sure, that's an accident, you getting abducted. It's like Mothership Zeta. Lonesome Road is pretty definitive that if you go in there, it's for business, you know? And it's like, there's no way to justify going to do that if you've gotten far enough in the game for the Mojave to matter. Lonesome Road only makes sense for a courier to be doing, like, near the end of their playthrough if they ignore the main story. And if you ignore the main story, a lot of the NCR and Legion conflict in Lonesome Road doesn't make as much sense or have as much impact. Ulysses is weird. I've heard the interpretation that Ulysses is just a schizo and that he's crazy and delusional and stupid. Patrician makes that one, and I think it's really funny, but if you take him seriously, it's just kind of dry and boring, because he says like the same thing like 5 times, just really long. And he talks really slowly. But like the gameplay is fine because it's just a test of your combat build. So like you're not gonna come out of Lonesome Road with stuff you use for the rest of the game because there shouldn't be much game left. I'm trying to think, but I think that's pretty much it. And I like that in Lonesome Road there really is no good clean ending. You launch the nukes at someone, or you sacrifice Eddie. And considering that you grow to like Eddie just because of the gameplay benefits of having him, I think that's a compelling choice. Even if logistically, of course, you sacrifice the robot to save like hundreds of thousands of people's lives, it is a compelling gameplay choice. Like, not even gameplay because Eddie disappears, but it's compelling because of how much you actually like him. Because of the mechanical influence Eddie has on you. But even then, the fact that the crux of the moral dilemma at the end is just that Eddie is really strong and makes you strong is still pretty flat. That's why it's only A tier. Gunrunner's Arsenal. Let's go, baby. I love Gunrunner's Arsenal. It adds more weapons to more ammo vendors. It adds more ammo, different types of ammo. It adds I think certain hand loader, vigilant recycler type recipes, and I think it adds Mad Bomber. So it makes explosives significantly more viable in the mid game because of microfusion clusters and microfusion grenades. I really like the Tiny Tots mini nukes, the big kid low yield timed. And I like that it integrates it all to the base game. But, at the same time, I also like that it adds fixed versions of certain weapons to the base game. So I think because of Gunrunner's Arsenal, there's like certain weapons you can get that are otherwise up to RNG. Like, you have Two-Step Goodbye, which normally Ballistic Fist are either held by NPCs, so you can't kill them, or they're RNG based on where they are. But this gives you the option to get it, and because of the fact that they're ridiculously priced, it helps preserve the economy for a little bit. Normally, if you go and gamble and then get your implants, you don't need money anymore, because you'll naturally accrue enough resources that you don't really care. But with Gunrunner's Arsenal, you can go get your implants, and then you still need to scrounge up like 15 more thousand caps to go get the gun you want. Right? And I think that's awesome. And it's literally completely lore friendly because it's just, oh, Gunrunner's introduced more weapons to the Mojave. Okay. Now, does it make sense that, like, Chet now has, like, a 556 pistol in full condition for you to buy? It's like, probably not. But it's a very small price to pay. And unlike Courier Stash, it's not free. You gotta buy this shit. So, no weird Courier Stash cringe argument. Volta... no. Wasteland Workshop. These will go into B tier. Contraptions and... Is that the last of them? I think it is, yeah. So those two will go into B tier. They do nothing but help the building of Fallout 4. But I think they cost, like... I think they cost more than $1. And all they change is the base building, which is egregious, so they're in the middle of the pack. Actually, I think these are just C tier. Vault Tech will go a tier higher because I like that it adds a new settlement. And the settlement dungeon is actually fun to explore. I love that dungeon. It's just fun to clear through when you're at a high level. It adds another settlement for you to use in the base map of the game, which is really cool. And a lot of the vault items are really useful for your actual bases. And it's just one fun little area. Where is Automatron? Automatron is gonna be either S or A tier. It really improves the game. I really love creating robots. I love that you can make robots provisioners. I like the quest itself, Ada, as a companion. And if it wasn't so buggy, I would like the final quest a lot more. But I just love that you get a new base. You get to create robots and tinker with those. And then you get, like, I think, like 2 dungeons, like 3 dungeons to do. Yeah, the one over by the coast, the one over in the forest, and then the one back on the coast. And I like that. I just like it. I like creating like a super spec'd out Assaultron dominatrix war machine and making her super overpowered. It adds more stuff to use your junk for. So like once you've built a base, you still have things to collect that for to keep building your robots. And even if you don't use them as provisioners, you can create robots to act sort of like guards by just assigning them to a settlement so that they'll protect it. And it's like, yeah, that's fucking epic. The thing is, I think it's improving Fallout 4 more than these are helping New Vegas, because New Vegas is more fundamentally solid. I think this probably... No, I feel fine leaving it in S tier. Because it's helping Fallout 4 more than these are helping New Vegas. But you could make the argument it's only doing that because Fallout 4 is shit, so anything will help it. I think Fallout 4 is mid, so that's why it's doing so much more for Fallout 4. Whereas New Vegas is goated and the DLC are kind of not at that level. Far Harbor. Yeah, it was Far Harbor next. Far Harbor is either B tier or A tier. The story is boring. It's not entirely compelling. Because it's like, there's the option just to go get Demon to confess. Which kind of functions as like the perfect ending. Because that way... the children, everyone can survive that way. So it suffers from like the perfect ending issue. I will say the world map of Far Harbor is fun to do on. Excuse me, fun to mess around on, and I do like that you get to help all of the settlements like get back up on their feet and do all the stuff they need to do. It's like, okay. But Dima's memories, yeah, this can't be A tier. In vanilla, you have no way to skip that. Yeah, Dima's memories. So this is B tier. Yeah, if there's no way to skip Dima's memories, this is B tier. There's no way around that. But I mean, I like stuff like the Captain's Dance. That's a fun quest. Because it's just fighting stuff. I like Old Longfellow in his cabin. There's like the mutant with his dogs. I don't really care for him. I don't like the vault with the robots. Yeah, the more I talk about it, the more it's B tier. If you're like me and you can just play modded survival and you just like leveling up because of like the dopamine of getting a perk, this is more levels to go do stuff, so you're not just farming places in the wasteland, the Commonwealth. Nuka World. It's fucking ass. The Gauntlet is okay the first time you do it, and then after that it's too long every time. All of the raiders are unlikable, and if you're going to side with them, it's not compelling. The operators are the only choice, and the disciples have to be the one outed. There's no way to make any other way, like, narratively. It doesn't work, because what it's trying to do is it's trying to give the player a chance to be an evil raider, but that doesn't work if the base game doesn't let you be a fucking bastard. The heel turn doesn't work. It's like the heel turn in Broken Steel to destroy the Citadel. That doesn't make any sense, because you'd have to play all of the main story, then you would have to do all of the Broken Steel quests on the side of the Brotherhood, and then at the very end destroy the Citadel. It doesn't make any sense. And Nuka World is the same way. It does not make sense for your character to do Nuka World and do anything else in the Commonwealth. It's incongruent with Fallout 4. And then if you just kill everyone... I mean, hey, if you just view it as a map to go kill people, it's actually better. Because it's just like a fun little... Because then at that point, Nuka World, the main one that you start in, just becomes like another little of the 5 different areas to go to. So it's like, that's kind of fun. And like the world space of Nuka World is kind of fun to explore. I like getting all the Nuka-Cola things, because I like the dopamine of seeing different colored things to pick up. Yeah, but overall I think it's actually kind of a net... It's not a net negative. Like, it's not... Yeah, actually, no, this should be... The thing is, it has to be a tier below Far Harbor. Because in Far Harbor, I can talk to the NPCs and not, like, get actively annoyed. Well, as annoyed. In Nuka World, all the NPCs are annoying. In Far Harbor, it's just, like, some of them. And then... Was that the last one? That was Fallout 4's last DLC, yeah. Didn't Fallout 4 have another one? Alright. Gunrunner's Arsenal is the best. Oh, this is tough. Oh, this is tough. Which one is worse? I think Zeta. This is a point that Bachizi argued about in his Fallout 3 DLC video. He goes into much more of a deep rant about why this is stupid. But one moment that stood out to me in Zeta that pissed me off is that you lose karma for killing the alien workers. Which is stupid on a lot of levels. Soma balls fit in your mouth. Let's fucking go. For some reason, Bethesda likes to write their women as cunts. And Soma is like one of the craziest examples of that. If you took Soma from Mothership Zeta and you just removed her, the game would, like, the DLC would improve. The little girl getting pissed at you for killing the workers is stupid. The little girl in general is just fucking all sorts of wrong. You've got... I don't even remember his name. What was it, Elliot? Ellen? I don't remember his name. But you got the medic guy, you got the cowboy, and then you have the epic samurai that speaks Japanese, XD. And it's like, okay. The final boss is clicking a button over and over. I mean, yeah, that's all video games. Actually, if you want to be that way about it, then actually Fallout 4 is just hitting buttons. Fallout New Vegas is just hitting buttons. But no, mechanically, you just sit there and hit a button and then turn around and shoot aliens. It's boring. It's cringe. It doesn't have a story, really. It's just trying to get off the ship. Anything it has to say is just kind of like pointless or said better somewhere else, or best not said by Bethesda. None of the vaults in Fallout 3 kind of like talk about. They all go over the experiment, but they focus more on like, oh, there's a guy who says Gary. There's a guy who went crazy and has a puppet hand. You know, and it's like they don't really take the opportunity to explore like the idea of like the way Vault-Tec views their vaults as experiments, which you could do. And like they kind of do that with like Vault 101, but they don't do it with their base vaults. But then you look at New Vegas, and it's like all of the vaults are about the experimentation thing, and it's taken more seriously. And so it's like, well, you could have viewed Zeta as like an attempt to do that more seriously again, right? But it's like, nope, epic, silly aliens. You know, they talk like Star Wars speak. So it's like, they're not taking it seriously. But then they throw in things to make it serious. Like, they throw in losing karma for killing the workers because, oh, is it morally justifiable to kill one of the workers who's just there, you know, because, you know, no one who piloted ships for the Nazis were actually Nazis. They were just airship fires, you know. And it's like, it's not compelling. Yeah, Zeta's probably the worst. Anchorage isn't far above, though. It's been a while since I did a tier list like this. That's how I feel. That's just how I feel. That's just my opinion. Because it is. If you think Automatron is too high, if you think Anchorage is too low, just let me know. Yeah, I really like that Ingot Hunt in the Pit. Anytime I play a Tale of Two Wastelands, I'm always going to take a visit to Fallout 3 and do the Ingot Hunt now. Well, I don't know about that. I think if you play Fallout 3, you should probably do the Pit. Anyways. Whatever order would be fine, TBH. Nah. Zeta's ass. Zeta's ass. Gunrunner's Arsenal is based. Anchorage is cringe. Alright. Bye-bye.